Okay, here we are. We're back again for another exciting episode of Black Beat, where we take an unapologetically black approach to the topics and issues of our community. I'm John Washington. I'm your editor-in-chief of Flossin Media and the host of this show. We continue our month-long series of environmental justice as part of our campaign we call Earth Needs Allies. This campaign is in collaboration with Flossin Media and the Soul District Business Association and the Soul District's annual fundraising event, the MLK Dream Run. Today we welcome Amanda Martinez from U.S. Bank to the show. Boy, she got a smile, boy. Some of y'all should be seeing her right about now. She's smiling, boy, with the flowers. Boy, this lady is definitely the epitome of somebody that's going to, you going to sit with her, you could probably go say yes. U.S. Bank is a longtime ally of the MLK Dream Run, and they are the title Vault of Opportunity sponsor for this year's event, coming to you on September 17th and 18th at PCC Cascade Campus here in Northeast Portland. Amanda is a business banking leader for U.S. Banks, maintains a strong passion for small businesses within our community. For more than 20 years, she has been a banker, primarily serving the Southwest Washington and Portland area. A graduate of Washington Bankers Association Executive Development Program, she quickly learned that serving her community was the best way to elevate small businesses. Ain't you something, girl? Welcome to the club. Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And here today we got some of my co-hosts with me. We got Samson and we have Alex here with us today, and they will be chiming in a little bit as we go to sort of support where we're trying to get to.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And so, Amanda, I asked you a little bit earlier, and tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you're from and what got you to here to where you are today.
Here where I am today with you fine folks.
Gotcha. Yes, and we are fine folks.
I'm from a rural community in southeastern Washington originally, but I've been on this side of the mountains now for over 20 years.
Wow.
It's beautiful out here. I enjoy it tremendously, and you know, I've got a son who's 12, just started 6th
congratulations.
grade. My daughter's in 3rd grade, and I'm a simple person. I live on an acre with chickens, John.
Wow. What kind of chickens you got? The chickens not the one with the yellow stripes up their back, was the ones that go puck, puck, you know?
I got all sorts of chickens.
You got all sorts of chickens. Well,
it's a big variety of them. As being, sustainable happens in all sorts of ways.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So, what motivates you to get to work every day? What's all this all about for you?
There's so many things outside from my family and certainly my community, but I'm extremely fortunate to live and work somewhere where we take such tremendous pride in the people that we serve, both the small businesses and then my terrific employees. I mean, I've got one of them here with me today, and he has a strong passion for what he does within our communities as well, but it's just an endless amount of encouragement and certainly prosperity that we see every day within our communities.
So are you the vice president of the bank or the VP of the bank?
I have a title like that, but
you have a title like that.
It's a little, it's certainly a little bit more than that. I'm fortunate to lead a team of people, and I work for an institution that also encourages me to give back to my community. So at any given time, I'm usually on about 3 boards.
Wow.
Right
you
now,
sound like me.
Exactly.
Busy,
John. I think we have a lot in common.
Yes.
But right now, I am the VP of Board Development for the YWCA in Clark County that's really working to eliminate racism within our community and uplift women. And the bank really supports me through that and my passion as we help Southwest Washington and Oregon really become a better place for all.
Yeah, Amanda, I saw that in your bio a little bit more about your participation and work with the YWCA. How'd that come about? Talk to me a little bit about that. Where'd that passion, what's that all about?
Sure. So I grew up, as I mentioned, in Southeast Washington. My mother worked really hard and did the best she can with the skills that she had. Mm-hmm. And that led me down a path as I got a little bit older. And I found an organization that I'm still very involved in called Seroptimist. It's a Latin word, best for women. And they work to really provide resources and really improve the lives of women and girls locally and globally.
Wow.
I started with them, and it really kind of snowballed, and I was starting to think, how can I help other women in our communities? Because it's not just high school girls that need a leg up in education. Yeah. There's women coming in on domestic violence in their 40s and 50s that need to go back to school and kind of reskill and retrain because they've never had to work before.
Wow.
And now they're given tremendous opportunity, and we're able to support them in all different facets.
So how does your involvement in the civic part of your life, community part, how does that in banking sort of come together? What intersection do they come together, and what do you see?
You know, it's about a bank or an employer that really wants to do better within the communities that they serve, and that's such a unique thing about U.S. Bank.
Yeah.
You know, they really take it seriously. They listen to employees and say, hey, my community needs this today. Can I participate in Y? Can we do more of X? And they really feel the need to make sure that not only are they supporting their clients and their shareholders, but the employees that are intrinsically involved in everything that they do, to really make sure that they're playing as much of a role in their community as possible.
Wow. You know, and we do have a little bit of understanding of the history of U.S. Bank. I mean, I think that U.S. Bank was founded and established here in the district, weren't they?
You know,
one of the first branches?
I was at an event on Tuesday night in our historic Oregon branch downtown that's been there since 1917. It's a beautiful building.
But actually, we had an event in that bank, in the building there. I think one of our, we had some kind of a major event at that bank down there that you guys got downtown. But wasn't there something to do with the U.S. Bank in the Northeast and their founder? One of their original branches were here in the Northeast? And that's why U.S. Bank was such a philanthropic part of the Northeast?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I know U.S. Bank historically has, forgot what it was called, but God, I can't remember the name of it. But in regards to Northeast Portland, I don't know what the correlation would be to that.
They were very philanthropic here. I know that.
Absolutely.
For years, and when you consider the fact that you claim and tout the fact that you have put out $43 billion in environmental beneficial business opportunities, you need to tell me a little bit more of that.
You know,
what did that entail? You know, that's a big number, lady.
It is a big number.
You know,
and it's continuing and ongoing.
Oh, really?
You know, it's
well,
really
we got to figure out how to get a part of that notion there, girl.
It's a balanced approach. So much of it is around kind of education and partnership and some of the climate change action that's occurring. But we're really working continuously to reduce the impact on our environment and really just decrease our use of the natural resources so that we can engage responsibly. But, I mean, think about it from our perspective. If we can help our clients reduce their carbon footprint by improving our mobile app, you know, saving them trips to the bank where they don't have to get in their car and head down to a physical branch, I mean, that helps reduces everyone's carbon footprint.
Wow. I never even considered that as being how the ally work would be with that kind of thing. I mean, so how's all that working itself out for you? I mean, how you guys actually seeing some significant improvements in terms of some of the endeavors you got around this environmental stuff? Yeah,
you know, it's interesting. Our app has been rated one of the number one apps and most downloaded so that people can really bank at where they're at. And so being able to deposit a check or transfer funds or do some even more intricate transactions without making a trip and getting in your vehicle and going to the bank. And then we've even improved it for our small business owners. We've got the ability for them to deposit checks directly from their office to save, you know, their bookkeeper or, you know, their controller from driving to the bank. So we're really trying to look at it at a holistic approach and how do we really provide the products and services that are going to help with the biggest impact.
So are you seeing any kind of significant growth in the business sector as a result of this? I mean, and what types of things are you seeing as a result of it?
It definitely does reduce the footprint within our facilities.
The carbon footprint?
Yeah. Well, it's people aren't coming in as often because they're doing so much of it electronically.
Okay.
We've been able to really build up and have a more robust approach.
Wow. So, that's going to open up a can. You know, that we got to go down this. You know, I mean, because when you think about some of the difficulties bridging the communication gap between the BIPOC community and the traditional communities that we both participate in, and the fact that when you think about the earth, carbon footprints, and you think about hug a tree, any of these types of organic conversations. For me, you smiling, but for me, I always think white people, right? I mean, it's not what I think that's what white people have. This is a white people's conversation, right? I mean, you hear it all the time in my house. I hear them, you know, my brothers, my sisters. What are you talking about, this hug a tree stuff? You know, that's those hippie people that are always talking about these types of things. How are you bridging that? How are with BIPOC community? How are you sort of hedging your bet in that dialogue and that communication, and how is that being rolled out, and how are you engaging it, and how are you getting people who historically was not, even though historically we've always been a part of that kind of stuff, farmers, we've always been servers of some kind to the earth and all of that. How are you rolling this thing out and getting people to buy in, and are you reaching those demographics that are historically hard to reach with this kind of dialogue?
So much of it comes down to the education. You know, we start with our staff and really trying to provide them with the benefits that it'll have to our clientele. You know, and then we really empower our staff to engage in our clients when they do come in and say, you know, can I show you something new? You know, can I show you this really cool thing? Even if you are stuck at home on your app or your device and you don't think that I can help you, if you call me, I can actually come in and you can see me on your screen and I can help point you in the right direction. So we're really starting with an educational approach.
Okay.
And it's for all, John. It's
Yeah,
for all.
yeah. But you know, you'd be amazed, man, how it may be for all, but not all receive it in the dialogue and the language in which we roll some of these comments. We have histories of people in resistance, you know. I mean, when you think about the trauma and you think about all of that, and you know, as one, even my partner Alex here, we try not to get enrolled so much in the negative dialogues around these things and try to find positive pathways to communicate, because we all agree the earth needs allies. We all agree that there ain't enough trees for us to keep breathing for another 100 years, you know, so we got to figure out some kind of way to make some adjustments, right? But that dialogue expands its way all the way out. I mean, because one of our previous interviews was the same thing, was that the value of what the environmental services bring in terms of native plants and all that is a significant value. But how is that received in the black community historically that have had people come in, redline them, take away their houses, destroy their businesses and all that stuff, and disguise it with these conversations as a disguise? But yet for them, they're fearful. They don't know how to address this. We don't want to let you in our house. We don't want to let you look around our community because you think you might going to take something or whatever. So how do we begin to bridge these dialogues that, for us, we all believe that we need more trees. We need more greenery. And so I was just telling that. I was saying, guys, you know, historically, if you walk right through the Northeast, you could always sort of determine to some degree, not always, not 100%, but for me, I'm almost getting pretty good. We can determine what race of people live in the house that we're looking at, okay? And historically, a lot of the black communities' houses is that with all the historical barriers and issues and all that, the improvements on the home have not been made. But the significance of adding greenery, native plants, and all that is a real significant reality because of drainage. It helps better air quality, all these types of things. So I think that it's really important that we continue this dialogue and try to bridge that gap with those communities that historically have had a hard time receiving this information. So I really
John,
respect you.
This community is so lucky to have you, because I can just tell that you're such a great advocate and a bridge to share some of those messages.
Oh, you're in banking. I can see that now. She's just too good, Alex. You know?
I'm a mom.
Oh, God, all those beautiful things.
I'm pretty sure a baker's probably like fifth on the list.
Oh, you wear it well, girl. You wear it well. You know. So, Alex, jump in here, man.
Well, so, I mean, some of the things that I was thinking about is, so, you know, within the bank, sometimes there's like specialized lending programs, right? It might be, I know U.S. Bank does something for doctors, right? If you're a doctor, dentist, or specialized lending programs, car dealerships, and things like that. Some of the trends that I've seen with these other banks that want to get involved on this environmental justice piece are starting to create specialized programs or specialized lending for small businesses that are particularly in that sector, right? So I don't know if you've got a manufacturer for solar panels or a business that handles some sales for energy cost efficiency or something like that. I see a lot of community banks, credit unions, those type of banks getting a little bit more involved on that. Do you see that something that's coming along for the bigger banks, bigger commercial banks? It doesn't have to be U.S. Bank in general, but just some of the bigger commercial banks as well? Well,
it's definitely on the radar for a lot of folks. I mean, we've got some initiatives where we're starting to provide and investing in green initiatives for organizations and nonprofits that are working through that lens. I think we've done about 1 million already with this program, and 2 here in
A
Oregon.
million businesses or $1 million
$1 million
Okay.
in funding across our footprint for businesses who are involved in some of those, who are taking up that initiative for the green approach. And in Oregon, I just learned that we invested in Earth Advantage, which delivers unique green construction workforce training for Black and Indigenous peoples
Right
within
on.
the full BIPOC community, at-risk youths, and previously incarcerated individuals as well, to really help some of these folks that are within our Portland metro environment have some of those Green Initiative John training skills so that they can go take part in some of those wonderful organizations.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, because the reason I bring that up is Fawn and I, what we're working right now is with ODOT. They're going to be getting some federal funding pretty soon for the car charging stations that they're going to be setting up all over Oregon.
That's $100 million they passed.
So one of our focuses is starting to work with a lot of some of the small local businesses here, primarily within our district. In different areas, whether it's the construction piece of it, the workforce piece of it, and things like that. And we're, in addition to them getting that funding, they're going to need some bigger scaled banking. So we're kind of trying to position them to be able to be prepared for that. I mean, it's right at the beginning of everything. So maybe, within the next year or two is kind of where everything's going to be full-fledged. So we're trying to figure out how we can prep them for that. In addition to getting those grants, how can they be ready to be bankable?
Ready to be bankable?
Yep.
Absolutely. I think the conversation starts today, Alex.
Yeah.
I know that we have a group of bankers that would just love to meet with them and talk to them and talk about what it takes to get started and build some of those basic building blocks, so that in a year when they're able to get some of those contracts, maybe we can connect them with the folks that are working to train the workforce on some of these green initiatives. But the conversation starts today, and I think that I've got Tyler here with me today, and I know he'd be happy to speak with any of them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so that was one piece of it for me. And then the other part is, again, when I was a banker, and the famous quote in the banking industry is that I was an accidental banker, right? Like nobody grew up saying I wanted to be a banker. One of the challenges that I kind of faced when I was in banking is, by the time people came to me, there was a lot of things that they didn't kind of have already in place, especially like on the lending side. That's always like the number one thing that they need is money, right? So what I'm starting to understand now that I work from a grassroots perspective, as opposed to kind of like a bigger commercial banking side, is the challenges faced with kind of trying to find them some of that money, right? So I see a lot of initiatives in regards to like mortgages and things like that. Are there any initiatives planned for anything like that on the small business side in kind of trying to help people receive some funding? Or
we're really looking at it again as kind of a holistic long-term approach. And so whether it be from the grant process when we're trying to either focus on a green initiative or bringing in more of the BIPOC community, but it all starts with a conversation. And as a reformed banker, and I know myself as an accidental banker, I was going to be a social psychologist like our buddy John here. But I think
I did behavioral modification.
Behavioral modification. Now I'm really in for it, John. A lot of it really starts with the conversation and, coming and walking into a bank.
You trained a lot of chickens, I know. No, I'm just kidding. Go for it.
Walking into any local branch here within this community and saying, I've got a great idea. I want to start my own business. Can I sit down for 30 minutes and talk to someone who can help me? And I guarantee you that there's not a bank on this street that wouldn't be willing to have that conversation.
Yeah, and I'm going to concur with that, John, because I ended up spending 13 years with U.S. Bank, and part of where I found my value is they did allow me to do a lot of that grassroots work as well, a lot of that door-to-door street walking, being able to get out and talk to a lot of the small businesses and stuff like that. So I can definitely agree with you when you say that they're advocate for that.
Right on. There's a quote that and I think I'd like to read it. It says that Dr. King's referenced the vault of opportunity in his famous "I Have a Dream" speech as part of a point that African Americans lack the same access to wealth creation as others. Today, the racial wealth gap between black households and white households still remains significant. In 2019, the median net worth of a typical white household was $188,200, was 7.8 times greater than that of the typical black household, which was $24,100. So, in most households are brought with mortgage, and most businesses rely on credit to fund their expansion. Is U.S. Bank concerned with this? And if so, how are they looking at funding small minority businesses and families?
Yeah, so businesses and families are certainly not just a focus of today for us, but those minorities are, those minority populations are, we're taking a very long-term approach with it. We're really redefining what it means to serve diverse customers, and looking at that holistically is going to allow us to create opportunities not only to aid those clients, but to have more diverse employees that are within those communities. Right now, we've started a $3 million investment, and we're planning over the course of the next 3 years to focus on Black communities first, where the disparities are obviously the largest. Additionally, like I mentioned, we're going to have some Black individuals go through that are within the mortgage industry. We're creating a mortgage loan officer development program that includes a full year of technical and community outreach training. So we're hoping not only to have some partners within housing agencies and community leaders, but also realtor trade organizations to help bolster and educate those individuals who want to come into an exciting field. And
So
help
you're
their
putting your money
communities.
to some degree where your mouth is in terms of educating people in those fields that you feel that are deficient in those other cultural participation. And so you're educating them and creating that next generation of, is what I'm hearing you say.
We want to have loan officers in our communities working with our local agencies that look like the communities that they serve.
I think smart move.
Yeah.
You know, because but then, of course, in this environment and climate, what's it like trying to find employees and people to come to work? I mean, is it difficult, or are you guys okay?
You know, that's one thing that we hear every day from our business clients all throughout, you know, not only the Portland metro area, but certainly throughout the country, is that, you know, people who have a job and are good at it, their employer does everything that they can to retain them. But I think we also recognize that there's a very talented pool of individuals within these communities who have never even thought or imagined that they could go and be a mortgage loan officer and wouldn't even know where to start.
Tell me about it.
So how do we find those folks and get them into a training program where they can really make the biggest impact within their communities?
So what's the hook? I mean, how you gonna get them? I mean, what do you have in your hand that's got them running to get that feed out your hand like a chicken do? You know, so you throw it out there, they come. But
John, I mean, the biggest thing for me, and you know why I joined U.S. Bank, I left a small community bank, you know, 6 years ago and came to U.S. Bank. They have a commitment to our communities that is unmatched. I mean, the work that they allow me to do, not only to aid the wonderful staff that I have, but the business clients, but also they really, really want us out in the field. In fact, the month of September, John, you are going to see more U.S. Bank shirts in the Portland metro area than you could probably imagine, because we go for a month-long employee giving campaign. Where you know, I've got a bunch of folks signed up for the run coming up, which I'm excited about. I'll be there with my kids as well, participating and volunteering.
Yeah, come on, girl.
And it's going to be a great opportunity for us to just really find those pockets and spaces in our community where we can make the biggest impact.
You know, I don't usually toot the horn of major corporations and businesses. I really don't. I think that sometimes money begets power and power begets money, so it's no big deal, right? But I got to honestly say, you know, historically, out of a bank, and if it was one bank that I had to get behind and rep, you know, it would be U.S. Bank. And believe you me, it's not because they support us or anything like that. I mean, but here, I appreciate that, what y'all do. But,
Thanks,
but
John.
no, it's just the history. I mean, you know, I remember when you guys went on a downturn on community funding and engagement and those types of things, and it was recognized. It seemed that the space didn't get filled by others, and it was recognized that U.S. Bank wasn't in the field of play. And then after a while, it seemed like something changed about you guys, and you brought some real players back to the table, and they came into the community, and they wasn't coming in here joking. They were serious about what they came in here to do, and they did accomplish that relationship with the community that still to this day, after they may not be around, that relationship with the community is still intact with U.S. Bank. And so I'm impressed with that work that you guys have done historically and over the years, and especially supporting the community as we go. So important that when that man comes from behind this thing, he needs something from you, trust me. You know. So, but no, again, I appreciate that again, Amanda. And so talk to us a little bit about what the next generation of entrepreneurs look like to you guys, and how you plan to support their coming up. I mean, are coming out, or what are you going to be doing with the next generation of people?
This next generation of entrepreneurs is going to be nothing that you and I have ever seen, John. The hope is that they're way smarter than us, quite frankly.
Yeah, the IQ.
They've got the IQ, but it's our responsibility as that older generation to make sure that we're giving them that EQ.
Yeah, yes.
The emotional intelligence.
Get over there, boys. Sit down.
Is going to be huge.
Yeah.
But they expect more. They
Yeah.
expect more from every service provider that they touch. They want us to be agile. They want us to quickly develop products and services that meet their need, and they want them to be intuitive. They want them to anticipate. They're so used to living with those devices at the end of their hands that they want them to anticipate the needs that they, as small business owners or entrepreneurs or individuals, need. And I think we're gearing up for that.
Well, right on, Amanda, because I think that's kind of really one of those important things. I mean, but you will still have to feed us old people with the money. I mean, because I tried to get up on these PCs and all this. It's so funny because one minute you're looking at it online and you're going, well, gee, my banking stuff is all right. But you got to remember to have all that. Me, I'm driving to the bank. I like my teller. you know?
We approach it digitally and human combined. So
well, right on.
One day you want to be digital, and the next day you need a human.
Well, I need a human most of the time, Darren. All that digital stuff I'm running from, or not running to. Trust me. So, Amanda, we do appreciate you for coming on the show. We really did. I mean, but before we get out of here, hey, Samson, you've been kind of quiet over there, buddy. Has anything sort of chimed your head as to this banking part? Because and Amanda, I mean, I don't see too many flaws. Oh, well, let's just play the exercise. You want to do the exercise with Amanda? The 3-question exercise?
Oh, I was going to say, I went to the gym this morning, Samson, behind me.
I just wanted to expand on the next generation of entrepreneurs like myself. I'm pretty big on that, and I feel like my generation especially is just with social media, just the uproar of entrepreneurship that's been happening in my generation specifically has been huge. So I don't know, I was just wondering more of like what has, like, do you have any like facts of what US Bank has done specifically to help fund any new entrepreneurships in the community or anything of that sort?
See, this is what you got to look forward to, Amanda.
I don't have any specific facts around, something so granular, but we do have the U.S. Bank Foundation, which supports throughout our entire community, not only just here in the Northwest, but throughout our footprint. And they look at it from a standpoint of work, home, and play. Where can we make the most impact in those 3 pillars? And I know just from funding that I've been involved in and a part of, some of that does go to organizations that are supporting entrepreneurs today and really making sure that they have the training and the resources to be successful so that they can grow their business and have a family and own a home and really move through life in the best possible way.
And I would like to piggyback off that too, of like owning a home. I'm the young man of the group right here, so
hey man, you got to stop telling that story, man. I'll tell you, I'm younger than you any day of the week.
So being a homeowner is a pretty big thing on my mind right now. And I know you guys are not Bank of America, but Bank of America has just done this thing with a 0 down on mortgage. And I was wondering, just from your banking perspective, like, how do you feel about that? Like, would U.S. Bank be interested in getting into something like that and making things easier for first-time home buyers in the African-American community?
Sure, and that's a great question. I know that we have a lot of programs, and a lot of them are targeted around education and making sure that you're in the right home to get the right fit. And to kind of tailor to your generation, down to our mobile app actually has some different calculators and thoughts. Okay, if my rent right now is $700, what does that translate into for a mortgage? And so you can really start to work and plan and come up with a good solution that fits you. But to the direct question about a 0 down home mortgage, I'm not privy to that information, unfortunately.
It's like a niche program that they came out with. It's like in Texas and in 2 other states, and it's 0%.
Incredible.
0 down, no credit score requirements and things like that. Although, to me personally, that's something we'd have to read a little bit more into because I don't know if that's a good or a positive thing. Because we should have certain guidelines in there to make sure that we're not putting people in a situation where they're going to default,
Sure.
But that is an interesting question. And the cool thing about Samson Aston is, he's getting ready to graduate here from PSU with a background in business. And one thing I'm kind of starting to notice with the younger generation or the younger entrepreneurs, a lot of people are coming out with a mindset of not going to the workforce, but coming out to being entrepreneurship, because there's so many opportunities out there now for people to be self-employed, especially on the digital media website and stuff. So
No, and it's impressive to see. And your generation, and I'm so glad to hear congratulations that you're going to graduate soon. That's exciting, Samson. But I meant when I said to John, I tell my children every day, your job is to be smarter than us. You guys are going to have a lot of problems to solve, and it doesn't just stop with, you know, the Green Initiative and the Earth. I mean, you have a tremendous opportunity ahead of you, and I'm happy to hear that you've got the smarts within you to want to be an entrepreneur, and that's really exciting to hear.
Thank you.
You know, I'm really excited about asking Amanda these 3 questions,
Me
Joe. I really am. You know, because she's a mom, she's a wife, she's a chicken raiser, you know.
I'm all the things, John.
For all these great things.
You're going to ask me how I like my eggs?
No, I already probably know that. No. But here, these 3 questions is what we call bridge questions, okay? We find that when people come in to the studio and they're hanging out, they're usually hyped on the knowledge in which they have, and they want to shine the best they can shine. But I like to bridge, right? And this bridge has to do with the human quality of who we are. So I'm going to ask you a series of 3 questions.
Okay.
Well, this is going to be statements, and I want you to respond to those, okay? Speak to me about life, Amanda.
Life is the greatest gift that we all get to spend time on this earth together with those that we love and to attempt to make it a better place. And that's what we should all be doing with our lives.
Speak to me about death.
Death is a moment in time where you get a chance, hopefully, to reflect on what you've done and those that you love and the impact that you've made, not only on the generation immediately in front of you, but those that come behind you.
Speak to me about love, Amanda.
Love is the most magical thing that has been placed on this earth. Whether you love, you know, the sound of birds in the morning, or your family, or a partner,
Or a chicken.
Or a chicken. No. My 15th wedding anniversary is next week, so now I'm going to cry because I've been trying to think of how to honor my husband in a fun way. So love is one of the greatest gifts we can give someone.
Wow. Breathe. Yeah. Now.
You got your 3.
Got you. And I said,
do I get to ask a question?
Not yet.
Now you see why he was a therapist.
So we got one more. We got one more, and then you get to ask a question. After this time together today that we've had, after answering those 3 questions in your head, and if you can relate what you do to the community at large and the message you believe you're here trying to relay to the community, what is it that you really want them to hear in your message today?
That's a great question, John. I think for me, the message that I hope everyone hears when they get to listen to you this afternoon and our conversation is really around there's so much work to be done, but if we all strive to do it together and we all go back to our employer and we ask for them to do a little bit part of it, and we do a little bit of part of it, and we ask our family and friends to join in, we can make a tremendous impact into the communities that we all live in, and it will benefit everyone.
Oh, God, Amanda. And this is, now y'all can tell I get emotional with this kind of stuff right about here. You not only we tapped each other's heart on the real part of that. And I think the premise of this, and even, because Alex, I remember when we started the podcast series, and he listened to a couple of our podcasts, and he sends me a text, and he goes, "Hey, man, I think that I got an idea for the podcast that would really make this thing go kind of crazy." And I said, "Well, what's that?" He says, "Well, we got to stop talking about negative shit, and start talking about something positive, right?" I was like, "What, is money positive?" No, it's like, no. But I think the truth about the foundation of us really having the need or understanding the value of us communicating with each other about these topics and these issues. Not always this green topic is a 30th floor topic in conversation. It is affecting our lives on all levels. And when I listen to what all the politics that's out there around this, the bottom line is, out of everything that I've read and researched, was the bottom line: we need more trees to create more oxygen in the atmosphere, because we have more people sucking up the damn oxygen than we have things that deliver it to our atmosphere.
You make me feel like I should stop talking.
No, girl, you got a few things you need to say. Some of us need to keep talking, a little bit. But the whole notion that we're so far apart in this conversation is ludicrous. Is the fact that we all live and breathe the same air, in that we live in the same communities. And the bottom line is a tree is equally as valuable to me as it is to you. Farm to plate to table is equally as valuable to me as it is to you. Nutrition with my kids is equally as valuable as anybody else's children. So I think these topics and issues are so centered on just the realization of us being able to survive collectively. And even if somebody else figured out how to survive without everybody else, then that's great, but they still going to need some dirt and stuff. You have to clear some of the chickens off that farm you got. And to plant a tree or something, right? So I'm as I do these interviews, the Earth Needs Allies, I become more drawn into the topic and the conversation. But I also what gets revealed was that I was never that far away from it. Mm-hmm. Because I was always a fisherman, I was always a hunter. I live in Oregon for those two reasons, by the way. You would never believe it. I was a former filbert orchard owner. When I first came to Oregon, I owned 130 acres of filbert orchard. And when I go home or go back east and I talk about filberts, they ask me, what is that nut? Oh, you mean that hazelnut? It's a hazelnut. Only in Oregon they call them filberts, right?
Because we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, a little bit. There's a variety of them. Some of the nuts are small, some of them are big. It's like chicken. Some of them are big and some of them are small. So I'm really feeling blessed that you came on, Amanda, and shared this opportunity and this time with us and our listeners. And again, much respect to you, much respect to U.S. Bank and the work. And I'm sure, not everything is always so clean and tidy as we'd like it to be. But sometimes it's, as a former football player, it's 5 yards in a cloud of dust is just what that is. 5 yards, but you're getting closer to that end zone. And the closer you get to that end zone, I think I listen to Joel Osteen always talk about, I'm still on the potter's wheel. We're still on the potter's wheel about a few things. And so with me, as being someone, and those 3 questions, by the way, they were bridge questions. And it comes a little bit from my Buddhist background, is that those questions are sometimes when people are emotionally up there or they're in their cerebral consciousness about the product they're selling or delivering or whatever, they get a little bit cerebral about it. But I like to sort of bring them back to a feeling aspect of this, because I think on a bigger level that most of us in the country or in the world are feeling level people to some degree. So we respond well to some kind of emotional connection to what we're doing. So again, if there's nothing more on the table with my supportive cast here, before we check out with Amanda, is there anything left? Any dire questions, any statements, anything that you need to make right now is the time to do it?
I'll take one. I was just going to say, just to end it for my segment, is there 3 things you could, three words of it, or not 3 words of advice, but 3 steps of advice that you can give to a young entrepreneur, like goals for them to hit or reach or look into, or community outreaches, whatever you feel is best?
If just since you and I are having this dialogue today, and I know you're graduating soon, I would come up with a good plan, and I'd make sure that you have the full faith and confidence in yourself, which I can already tell that you do because you're a smart young man. And then second, I'd be prepared to pivot and adjust when you need to, and pause and reflect often. That is really important for small business owners to recognize is, all right, I need to pause, I need to reflect on this, and make sure that I'm doing that often enough along the way. And then third, gain support. I mean, the beautiful thing about human beings, especially this next generation, I tell my kids all the time, you're going to live to be like 125 years old, hopefully. No one expects you at 22 to know everything. Reach out for help. It's not a sign of weakness or lack of confidence. It's a sign of strength. And the more information you can gather and the more support you can get, the more allies you have on your side.
I love it.
Hey. Thank you for coming on Black Beat today.
Wait. I get a question.
Oh, okay, you get one, man.
I get one question.
Get one.
Yeah.
Okay.
You only get one? No.
I only want one.
Okay, go.
Okay, ready, John?
Oh, go for it.
John, if you had your choice, would you be a ninja or a pirate?
I think I've heard this somewhere. Would I be a ninja or a pilot? Or a pirate, you said? Wow. I think I'd be a ninja.
Why?
Because of the stealth movement, the coordinated effort to blend in with the fabric of this life, to go stealth and to be significant in that stealthness, to influence things from the backdrop, not necessarily from the foredrop.
Good answer. I can see your influence all over this community, John. It's incredible. Thank you.
Much respect to you, sister. We appreciate you being on the show. You
pleasure.
hear? Oh, yeah. Hey, welcome to See Y'all Later. Black Beat today with Amanda from the U.S. Bank, Earth Needs Allies, and Small Business Community. That is for today on Black Beat. Come check us out, and the show is available through Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Play, and more. Look, my heart always sort of sings at the end of these things, but Amanda seems to bring that out a little bit more. She's definitely gifted with what she come to the table to deliver. So for those of you who are listening to this, there are some opportunities out there with y'all with U.S. Bank. I suggest you guys reach out and touch somebody. You hear? I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on the show, sis.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. And in my cast.
Join the Seoul District Business Association for our 11th annual MLK Dream Run weekend celebration coming September 17th and 18th to Northeast Portland. This two-day event features live music, the Soulful Vendor Village, raffle prizes, and the 5, 10, and 15K races. We've also added a free kids race for 9 and under. This year's theme is environmental justice because Earth needs allies. Select winners and participants have a chance to win a round-trip ticket courtesy of Alaska Airlines. Visit our website for more information and register today, mlkdreamrun.org.